Hey everybody, I have a video here for you today, and I'm kind of taking a little break from research videos, but I like sharing news articles once in a while, especially when they have to do with ancient places, such as the one we're flying into today. And I was made aware of this article that came out today about a discovery that was made in ancient Abydos, Egypt, along the Nile River here, and I thought I would share. But I have actually made a video about this general location about 2 or 3 years ago, and I'll leave a link for that video below. But out here in, I think, what is described as southern Abydos, right below this mountain here, and this is called the Mountain of Anubis, is the really undocumented tomb of the pharaoh Senusret, coming from the 12th dynasty about 3,800 years ago. And the Penn Museum has done some excavations out here, and they are the ones who authored this story I'm going to read in just a second here. But really, there is no documentation, just one lone picture of this area here on Google Earth. But this is a pretty important pharaoh, coming from about 3,800 years ago. And let me just read this article here, and this comes from Live Science. And it says, 3,800-year-old tableau of Egyptian boats discovered. And here is the room that was excavated with all the boats on the walls. It says, more than 120 images of ancient Egyptian boats have been discovered adorning the inside of a building in Abydos, Egypt. The building dates back more than 3,800 years and was built near the tomb of Pharaoh Senusret III, archaeologists report. The tableau, as the series of images is called, would have looked upon a real wooden boat, said Joseph Wegner, the curator at the Penn Museum at the University of Pennsylvania, who led the excavation. Only a few planks remain of the wooden boat, which would have been constructed at Abydos or dragged across the desert, Wagner said. In ancient Egypt, boats were sometimes buried near a pharaoh's tomb, and I have showed many depictions of that. It says the largest images are nearly 5 feet, 1.5 meters in length, and show large, well-rendered boats depicted with masts, sails, riggings, deckhouses, cabins, rudders, oars, and in some cases, rowers, wrote Wagner in an article published in the International Journal of Nautical Archaeology. Some images are small and simple, and the smallest reaching only about 4 inches or about 10 centimeters in length. It says, though 120 images survive today, there would have been more incised on building walls in ancient times, Wagner wrote. In addition to the boats, the tableau contains incised images of gazelle, cattle, and flowers, he noted. Near the entranceway of the building, whose interior is about 68 feet by 13 feet, which is 21 by 4 meters, archaeologists discovered more than 145 pottery vessels, many of which were buried with their necks facing towards the building's entrance. The vessels are necked liquid storage jars, usually termed beer jars, although probably used for storage and transported a variety of liquids. And I believe the beer jars are in direct reference to a chapter in what I call, or what people know as the Book of the Dead, and I know there is a correct title for that book, the Book Coming Forth by Day. I just wanted to mention that. But it says, the existence of the building was first noted in 1904 report by an Egypt Exploration Fund team that worked at Abydos between 1901 and 1903. However, that team didn't have time to excavate the building and didn't know what was in it. They came down upon the very top of the boat building. They saw the vault of it, but abandoned the work, Wagner said. Goes on to say, the archaeologists don't know who drew the tableau or why it was created. We can't conclusively answer that on the basis of what's preserved, Wagner told Live Science. However, the researchers think that multiple people created the tableau within a very short period of time. And here is one of the boats depicted. It says, one possibility is that the people who built the boat also created the tableau, or perhaps a group of people taking part in a funerary ceremony after the death of Pharaoh Senusret III etched the images onto the building walls. Yet another possibility is that a group of people gained access to the building after the pharaoh died and created the tableau. Archaeologists found that a group of individuals entered the building at some point after the pharaoh's death and took the boat apart. And it says archaeologists are also puzzled over the purposes of all the pottery found near the entrance of the building. And it says, it's possible that those attending the funerary ceremonies could have spilled liquid from the pots on the ground on purpose, potentially a massive decanting of liquid, likely predominantly water, at the entrance of the building was a way of magically floating the boat, Wagner wrote. And that should be taken with great speculation, but that is a little bit about the discovery of these images of boats coming from ancient Abydos, almost 4,000-year-old depictions of boats, and I believe they come from a depiction from a funerary ceremony, because the boats were really what pharaohs journeyed on the Celestial Nile, which was the Milky Way, and I have shown many tombs where that is depicted. And also, upon the death of pharaohs, there is a special ceremony, an armada of boats that supposedly sails from in front of Anubis down to Abydos, kind of a parade of boats as a ceremony for the dead pharaoh. I just wanted to mention that. And I just want to read a little bit more about Senusret here, and this was also found. And I just want to read, early on in the excavations, Wagner and his team found many clay seals bearing an impression of Anubis. The hieroglyphs on the seal spell Mountain of Anubis, and is generally agreed that this refers to Gebel Mountain. It would appear that the Mountain of Anubis was another name for this location in southern Abydos. Senusret III was much involved in the cult of Osiris and has sent officials to support, finance, and expand upon the rituals carried out for that god at the main center of Abydos. And this ancient religion, this cult of Osiris, that I believe the traces of it can go back to the building of the Great Pyramid and what we know today as the Sphinx. And isn't it funny that Egyptologists and other people say, well, the Sphinx, this lionoid creature that is this great monument, is not depicted in any tombs of pharaohs? Isn't that strange? Yet in all the important pharaohs and important people coming from ancient Egypt, we have this ancient depiction of the oldest god of the sacred land, Anubis, in the posture of the Sphinx. Anubis was the Sphinx in antiquity, and why this isn't a matter of fact is one of the strangest things I have ever come across in my research into ancient history. I just thought I would mention that. And I also wanted to mention this. There is some inscriptions, and I believe this boat found, we might have a source for who constructed this boat. It says, for example, at ancient Abydos, an inscription by a local official named Senusret, I'm not going to even try to say that a second time, states that the king, Senusret III, commissioned him to refurbish Osiris's barge, along with some other things. So this person here might have been the person who actually built that boat, and it was all symbolic of the cult of Osiris and a journey to the afterlife. And I will leave some links below, but that is live science. And that is just a little bit of the story of Senusret III and a discovery made in excavations done recently at ancient Abydos. And I'll just go back to Google Earth, and here, this, not much on Google Earth about this at all. A tomb of a great pharaoh of about the 12th dynasty. And I will leave a bunch of links below. And the person who sent me this article, as my computer has just about stopped working altogether here. But hope you thought this was interesting, and I'm going to cut it off right here, and you all have a nice day and a nice Halloween.